Nishikantji, coming to you now. Now all the focus is on ensuring peace. Do you think that, and I quoted you, what is the way in which that violence can stop, sir? In which the sniping is taking place in the areas where hills and the plain meet, sir? What can be done?
Uh, I think that first of all you have to disarm people. First of all, you have to disarm people, and the government and whoever's there must be more proactive. More responsibilities have to be taken. And once the fire is dodged out, once you have disarmed people, then the talks between the CSOs from neutral communities must start. They must bridge people, connect hearts, and then eventually, then the Maitis and Cookies also have to, talk it out eventually. But initially, it has to be start through the CSO of the Maitai Manipuri Nagas and the Maitai Muslims. That's how I see it. And the rule of law must be enforced at any cost. When the rule of law is enforced, everything falls into place. And rule of law can be enforced. Why shouldn't it be enforced? People should be held responsible. I mean, officers should be held responsible. All those in power have to be held responsible.
Nishikantji, Brijesh Pandey this side. I just wanted to ask you, you have mentioned yesterday and today also that disarming of the people is the first step. But given the kind of distrust, as far as Manipur police is concerned, with Assam Rifle is concerned, do you think this is going to be an easy task?
You see, I am told that the strength of the Manipur police is around 30,000. That's not a small number. And then I am told that 40,000 central forces have been moved into Manipur. That's quite a bit. That's a lot. In fact, they need to be well coordinated. Where there are issues with Assam Rifle, use BSF. Where there are issues with, let's say, with the Manipur police, use Assam Rifle, and vice versa. And I think it needs to be very well coordinated. People have to be, those officers and ministers and the people in power have to be held responsible. Somebody has to be, everybody has to take responsibility. Everybody has to perform his duty. Once the gun stops, then everything can start. Then you can start negotiating. And I think people should not be allowed to take law in their own hands. Anybody, whether you are an armed man or not an armed man, whether you are a Maitai or a Kuki or whoever, our law should not be allowed to be, taken into their hands. I mean, there are the lawmakers, there is the police, there is the army, and it has to be well coordinated. There is Mr. Kuldeep Singh, the security advisor. I'm sure they know what to do better than me, how to disarm people. They should be at it. It's their job. I am just an MLA. MLAs hardly have any power, any decision making. Those who have decision making powers must act.
You are talking about disarming people. On this, I would like to get Mr. Timothy. Timothy, disarming will happen when the peace committee succeeds. Peace committee will have to build that confidence so that the people will give arms. There is no peace committee. In that context, do you think disarming will happen?
So the problem is, even though there is a peace committee or whatever committee is being formed, unless this armed, the armed which has been looted from the police stations or armed which has been taken by the village volunteers for defending their land, unless these are, taken by the central armed forces, so I don't think there can be any peace talk, because if you see the trend of violence which is happening, the attacks which is happening, it is not happening at the foothills, but rather into the hills, like the Khamenlok, which had discussed earlier also in your panel. The attacks, these are the villages not in the foothills, but these are the villages which are again inside the hills, or you would say, crossing the foothills of the mountain areas. So, if the attacks keep happening, if the amount of ammunition that is there in the hands of the people are, still actively used, I don't think there can be any peace. If you see just recently how the cadre of 4 cadres were arrested by the Assam Rifle, and then they were handed over to the local police again. And then there is a fear in the mind of the people that, okay, if they had been handed over to the Manipur police, after a few hours, they'll be again released. So, the how the procedure works, whatever seizure they make, they have to submit it to the Malkhana. So from Malkhana, how it goes, where it goes, nobody knows. So there is still fear, and you see the how the other militant groups are also now involved in this commotion between the two communities. So I think it's high time that these ammunition, rather than pleading, requesting enough of the pleading to the general public to surrender the arms, I think it's high time that combing operation should be done in the Imphal as well as in the hill areas, so that these weapons are seized first, and then there can be talks about other peace committee, as Sudhakar said, midterm
See,
policy, short-term policy,
but
long-term policy.
how do we get cookies and Maitis to come together on peace committee? If I may ask this question to you, your
So the
imagination of a
only
peace committee.
so the only thing how they can come up to this peace committee is once this violence stops, because this violence is not stopping. After, let's say, few hours of silence, again there is an attack. After few silence of this attack happens, then again the other areas are getting burned down. So discontentment is not ending from the side of the Kuki communities. So this anger is already increasing day by day with the kind of violence that is happening. And recently when the central minister MOS Ranjan sir house was burned down, then only he realized that there was a law and order situation. If those kind of things he would have said earlier, that there is no law and order in the state, people would have at least trusted that, okay, there are MLAs, there are ministers who thinks that yes, the situation of Manipur is bad and the law and order situation is wrong. So these kind of emotionally charged up people are there who now see that Meitei communities are those who are the dominant community are using violence as a mean to stop this
It's
ongoing
it's
conflict.
a Timothy. I would just like to say it's such a contested thing.